Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering woke district attorneys panic, new law to allow anti-woke DA offices to prosecute criminals. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. I was catching up this morning, watching some of the news shows I like to watch just to kind of see what everybody's saying. Sometimes I do like to watch the progressive shows so I can see them getting upset because they're not getting their way on certain issues, and also gives me some great ideas sometimes for videos. So I was watching this guy who was standing in for Velshi, and he was very angrily complaining that there's a system of overseers diluting progressive prosecutors and the voters who elected them. And I said, hey, that's interesting. What's that all about? Here's what that's all about. Of course, George Soros has been putting in a lot of time and attention on trying to get prosecutors of blue cities to come in, take over as attorney general, take over as district attorney, and stop prosecuting crimes, destroy quality of life in those cities. From the New York Post, the Soros backlash, how the nation has turned against soft on crime prosecutors. It's gotten so bad that New York City has deployed the National Guard. I don't know if you've heard about this, but literally, the governor of New York put the National Guard in the subways in New York City. From the New York Post, NYPD and lawmakers ripped Governor Hochul for sending National Guard to New York City subways. Our transit system is not a war zone. It's really bad in the subways. Also from the New York Post, Hochul defends deploying National Guard in New York City subways after war zone backlash. Governor Hochul bans long guns for National Guard troops deployed to New York City subway bag checkpoints. Because everyone has to have their bags checked because it's really just that bad. It's not just the National Guard. It's now turning into a police state because progressives want either no law enforcement or they want a complete and total police state. But here's what this law is all about. Tennessee senator files bill that would allow neighboring DAs to prosecute out-of-county crimes. In a new development, Tennessee State Senator Brent Taylor announced he has introduced legislation that would require law enforcement agencies to report certain major criminal investigations to district attorneys in neighboring counties. His bill, known as the DA Second Opinion Act, would also permit a neighboring district attorney to prosecute certain out-of-county crimes if the presiding DA refuses to prosecute. Quote, this legislation will permit law enforcement to make a prosecution request to a neighboring district attorney who may have a more law and order approach to criminal prosecutions, Taylor stated. Police officers work hard to build a case against violent criminals. This bill is designed to give law enforcement officials more options. It will provide Memphians the opportunity to receive the justice those in the law-abiding community demand. So it's a brilliant concept, really. There are movements to just get rid of these prosecutors. Governor DeSantis in Florida has gotten rid of 2 progressive woke prosecutors that don't want to prosecute crime and are causing people to get killed. We'll get into that in a minute. But this is a different approach. This is just, hey, if you're law enforcement and you know you have a district attorney who is soft on crime, who is trying to destroy your community so that progressives can get more power, you don't have to bring your crime to that district attorney. You can bring it to someone who actually wants safety and law and order in your community. And it's actually a good idea because these criminals, if they're in one county, for example, and they commit a certain crime, it doesn't mean that person isn't a danger to the neighboring community just as much as they're a danger to the community that they live in. Any of those neighboring communities are also in danger because what prevents them from going into the next community over and committing a crime? From Fox 13, bill would allow neighboring DA offices to prosecute major crimes in Memphis. Monday, Senator Brent Taylor filed the DA Second Opinion Act. The bill would allow law enforcement agencies request a district attorney from another county to come in and investigate crimes that Shelby County DA Steve Mulroney chose not to prosecute. There's a catch. Senator Taylor told Fox there has to be a single element that connects the 2 counties together. Quote, that neighboring district attorney could prosecute not only that single element that exists in their county, but they can also prosecute any crimes in that nexus all the way into Shelby County, said Taylor. Senator Taylor gave as an example someone stealing a gun in Shelby County and then committing other crimes in another county with that same stolen gun. Quote, that district attorney could prosecute that stolen firearm, possession of a stolen firearm, and any of the other crimes that occurred with that firearm, even though it's in Shelby County, said Taylor. Taylor told Fox this bill would expand on something that is already law. Quote, DAs who have that single element of crime in their jurisdiction can already prosecute the additional crimes in that nexus, said Taylor. All this bill does is it authorizes law enforcement to take that investigation to the other district attorney. Taylor says this bill would allow law enforcement to get a second opinion on crime that spans multiple counties. Quote, the other district attorney may look at it and come to the same conclusion that DA Mulroney comes to. That's why we're calling it a second opinion. Fox reached out to Shelby County DA Steve Mulroney about the bill. This is what DA Mulroney had to say in a statement. The proposed bill is empty political messaging with no real-world effect, a solution in search of a problem. Law enforcement currently are already free to notify any DA office they want about offenses, but DAs are only empowered to prosecute crimes occurring inside their jurisdiction. Rather than grabbing headlines with proposals that won't actually make us safer, Senator Taylor would be better advised to help Shelby County get a local crime lab, provide residential facilities to deal with repeat juvenile offenders, and allow urban areas to opt out of our lax soft-on-crime gun laws. So his plan is just take away the guns from people who have them legally so they can't defend themselves from the people he lets back out on the street. Senator Taylor told Fox there are a few things within Mulroney's statement that he agrees with. That includes bringing a crime lab to Shelby County. Quote, I would love to have a crime lab, and DA Mulroney knows that. He and I have had those conversations, said Taylor. I support additional facilities to detain juveniles who are out wreaking havoc in our community. Senator Taylor told Fox 13 the bill should be in the Senate committee within a week. Afterwards, it'll have to survive committee in the House and then get passed by both the House and Senate. Taylor told Fox he's confident the bill will pass. Quote, everyone seems to be on board with this bill, and I really look for it to have smooth passage. Back in August, DeSantis got rid of this prosecutor who was not prosecuting crimes. DeSantis suspends another elected prosecutor and moved to write it as politically motivated. Give you an idea about this lady? This is from The Guardian. State attorney says DeSantis fired her because she was prosecuting their cops. So they'll prosecute the police, but they'll let the criminals run wild. When I say criminals run wild, this is what really set DeSantis' office off. This is what made them say, okay, we're going to investigate her and we're getting rid of her. Suspended prosecutor Monique Worrell tells state Supreme Court that DeSantis exceeded his authority. So she's trying to fight DeSantis in the state Supreme Court. That dispute hasn't been resolved yet. She wants her old job back. But why would he suspend her? Let's get into the story. A lawyer for a suspended Florida prosecutor told the state Supreme Court that Governor Ron DeSantis exceeded his authority when he removed a Democratic state attorney from her elected office. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis exceeded his authority when he removed a Democratic prosecutor from her elected office after a teenager fatally shot a girl and a news reporter, her attorney told the Supreme Court on Wednesday. The state constitution only allows for the suspension of an elected official for egregious misconduct, said Monique Worrell. And Monique Worrell was simply doing her job as she sees fit, not anything illegal or negligent, when DeSantis suspended her, said her lawyer, Laura Ferguson. Quote, it's the voters, not the governor, to whom Ms. Worrell is accountable, Ferguson said. Is that true, though? Because an attorney for DeSantis said Worrell's history of failing to prosecute crimes committed by minors and in not seeking mandatory minimum sentences for gun crimes put the public in danger in her Central Florida district. Statistics show that Orlando and the surrounding area were grossly underperforming compared with other prosecutorial districts in the state, lawyer Jeffrey D'Souza said. If it just turned out that Ms. Worrell was just not very effective at prosecuting crime, and the data I think does prove that, I would think that would be enough. Now, practice and policies make that even stronger, D'Souza said. DeSantis' office began investigating Worrell earlier this year after 19-year-old Keith Moses was charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of Spectrum News 13 reporter Dylan Lyons, Nathacha Augustin, and 9-year-old Tiana Major. The girl's mother and the Spectrum News 13 photographer Jesse Walden were also shot. Killed 3 people, shot 2 others. Shortly after the shooting, DeSantis' general counsel said in a letter to Worrell that she had previously failed to hold Moses accountable for crimes he allegedly committed before the deaths. The letter noted that Moses was arrested during a traffic stop in November 2021 for cannabis possession. According to a police report, a deputy witnessed a gun being thrown out of the car window as it was being pulled over. The 3 occupants had ski masks and passed firearm charges, including Moses, who was on juvenile felony probation. The Orange County Sheriff's Office deputy charged Moses with a drug offense and not a firearm offense. The case was dismissed the following month after prosecutors concluded it wasn't suitable to pursue. DeSantis is one of a number of Republicans in various jurisdictions across the U.S. who have called into question decisions from Democratic prosecutors. DeSantis last year removed State Attorney Andrew Warren, a twice-elected Democrat in Tampa, after he pledged not to pursue criminal charges against seekers or providers of abortion or gender transition treatments. He also had a policy of not bringing charges against people for certain low-level crimes. And on Bloomberg.com, GOP-backed laws could oust local prosecutors. In Georgia, Texas, Mississippi, and other U.S. states, there's a widening power struggle between Republican state lawmakers and elected Democrat district attorneys. Sherry Boston ousted a Democratic incumbent in the 2016 primary to clinch her first election as district attorney for DeKalb County, Georgia. Boston didn't run as a progressive. The label wasn't common for prosecutors then, but believed in changing the system. Even before the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last summer, she'd pledged not to prosecute abortion law violations. So when Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed a GOP-backed law that gives a new state commission the power to discipline or remove local prosecutors, Boston recognized herself as a target. Quote, "It's clear to me and many others that this movement to create oversight over district attorneys is meant to disenfranchise the voters in local communities." Boston, the second black woman elected to the post in a majority black county, said in an interview, "It is taking away local control. Like similar debates in Texas, Mississippi, and other states, the clash in Georgia reflects a widening power struggle between Republican state lawmakers and elected Democratic local prosecutors. Because the lawmakers actually make the laws, and if you're a local prosecutor and you say, I'm not going to prosecute any of these laws, I don't think they're nice, of course the legislators aren't going to be happy about that. They make the laws. The prosecutors don't make the laws. Building for years, it's been turbocharged by concerns about criminal justice reform, progressive politics, urban crime, and the legal spotlight on hot-button issues like abortion and gender-affirming care. Opponents of the new proposals are fighting back. Missouri Democrats blocked a vote on a bill giving the state more prosecutorial power in St. Louis. The ACLU of Texas is lobbying against bills, and county attorneys in Iowa criticized the law that says the state attorney general can prosecute crimes anywhere, even without a request. Quote, "It's an erosion of our prosecutorial discretion," said Calhoun County Attorney Tina Meth Farrington, an elected Republican who heads the board of directors of the Iowa County Attorneys Association. "That gives the impression to us that they're looking over our shoulders." Well, they are looking over your shoulders because you're not prosecuting crimes. Still, Republicans control the legislature and governorship in the 7 states where proposals curtailing local prosecutors gained traction this year. The conflict in the Missouri-led St. Louis Circuit led St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner, the first black woman to hold the job, to announce her resignation last week. And former President Donald Trump, who has railed against his own prosecution by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, has made investigating local district attorneys a plank in his 2024 presidential bid. Policy teams at the America First Policy Institute, a think tank led by Trump administration alums, are also working on recommendations to rein in progressive prosecutors, quote, "that could be implemented at the state level," Mark Lotter, chief communications officer, said in an email. The vast majority of local prosecutors are elected unopposed, but progressive prosecutors, part of a movement supported by Democratic megadonors like George Soros, have emerged as an almost national brand. The movement gained speed in the last half-dozen years, with backers focused on a prosecutor's power to decide who gets charged and how a case proceeds, as well as incarceration rates that disproportionately affect people of color, and the indelible impact of entering the criminal justice system, even for low-level offenses. Republicans have historically sought to use crime as an electoral wedge and claim the mantle as the law and order party. Well, they're the only ones who want law and order. Much of the recent GOP criticism against the progressives centers on their policies covering categories of crimes, including declining to charge offenses such as drug possession or prostitution. State legislation aims to go beyond individual prosecutors to change the balance of power and challenge decision-making, especially over prosecutorial discretion. Georgia Senator Randy Robertson, a Republican and one of the sponsors of the oversight bill, cited local examples of district attorneys accused of mishandling their duties, including notable indictments. He also referenced district attorneys deciding who to prosecute based on their political leanings. Quote, "In order to solve this problem, there needs to be oversight, and I think this is the cleanest, fairest, most honest way to provide that oversight. District attorneys have long declined to prosecute certain offenses, such as adultery, which is illegal in Georgia, without lawmakers taking action," Boston said. "Their outrage now is political, not about public safety," she said. No, Republicans are not upset that you're not prosecuting adultery. They all know what this is about. This is about rampant crime and letting people out of jail and not even charging people and creating really dangerous communities when it's completely unnecessary. Quote, as a prosecutor, how you view and how you use your discretion is something you should be held accountable to by your community and your own voters, not by people that are sitting in a gold dome and that don't live in your community, Boston said. She's talking about people in the Capitol, the Gold Dome. She said she believes the issue is greater than one county or state because such laws are sending the message, which is, we want to pick and choose who you put behind bars. Here is the playbook we want you to follow. And if you don't follow that playbook, then we want you out and we'll find a way to take you out. Yes, that is the message. They want you to put people behind bars that are capable of hurting and killing other people. They want you to get people off the streets that are committing crimes. That's the whole concept. If progressive district attorneys are not going to prosecute people in their districts because they want to try to make things fair or change society or whatever it is that they're doing, they are absolutely creating new victims. The victims are the perpetrators and the victims of the crime. The perpetrators of the crime don't need to do small crimes and then get away with them and then move up to doing larger crimes. You can't right wrongs by committing more wrongs. People need to learn consequences for their actions as early as they can in their life so they can learn from their mistakes and then go on and do great things. These progressive district attorneys gotta go. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.